Shalom, and welcome back to Bnei Noach Academy, Thoughts on the Torah. Please remember to hit the like button, to subscribe, and most importantly, to share this insight and inspiration with friends and family. So in chapter 29 of the book of Deuteronomy, beginning with verse 15 and on, we already discussed this in the previous class, why this is a topic that needs to be repeated, actually must be repeated again and again. The people have to be cautioned and warned about it again and again, because unfortunately, this is something that is of the nature of great temptation and could seduce even the holiest and the best, albeit on some level. But I want to apply it now in very practical terms, because the fact is that perhaps you were wondering, as well I was wondering this following question. I had the same thought in my mind, which is, at the end of the day, really, I'm not going to in any way allow myself to cross that red line. I wouldn't even cross an orange line towards any of that stuff. I don't even really pay attention to it. So in what way does this apply to me? In other words, in what way do I, in what sense does this exist in my life and my day-to-day life, that I need to be cautioned again and again by the Torah, by Moses, saying, please be very, very careful when it comes to this matter of idolatry. In other words, what is it in my life that perhaps is symbolic of that, is synonymous with idolatry, and therefore that needs to be taken care of, and I need to be on guard all the time? Well, think of it this way. There is a very strong similarity. In fact, in some places, it's actually considered as the same between idolatry and arrogance, haughtiness. And as much as we may think, oh no, I'm a humble person, but everyone on some level, at least to some degree, has some form, some measure of arrogance. It's just a fact. Now, there is the healthy part of it. We need to have a self-esteem. We need to have a healthy image of ourselves. That's very important in order to be able to function, in order to be able to live life, in order to be able to navigate through life, through challenges, through experiences. We need to have a healthy self-esteem. But for too many people, unfortunately, that the thin line between self-esteem, a healthy self-esteem that is, and arrogance is unfortunately too thin. It's unfortunately a line that gets crossed too often. And perhaps not just gets crossed, but people sometimes exaggerate in how they go into the area of arrogance. And this is something which unfortunately comes up again and again. Now, what is the connection? What is the similarity? How is this synonymous, idolatry and arrogance? Well, remember, idolatry basically is saying there's something else besides God. Yeah, God created the world. Yeah, God's ultimately in charge. But there's also other powers to reckon with. There's also other existences that exist. There's other, so to speak, players in this game. Well, what is arrogance? Arrogance is where a person basically starts to feel themselves and as if they, quote, exist on a superior level, meaning that it's not just God who is running things, but perhaps me too, if I'm arrogant. I'm also a contributor. I'm also, quote, a player in this game. That, unfortunately, is very, very dangerous. And that the arrogance, which typically brings a person to also become negative towards others, because the only way to maintain one's image of oneself as if being superior or greater than is by behaving so, but typically you're not greater than, you're not necessarily superior than, so what you need to do is to put others down and behave in manners that is not consistent with someone that fears God, that believes in God, and that understands that everything is from God, and that my qualities I have from God, that person's qualities they have from God, and my shortcomings I have from God, as well as that person's shortcomings I have from God. But when I can't see my shortcomings and even recognize that my qualities come from God, and I make it as if it came from myself, that's when I become arrogant. And that's when I start seeing the other person just for their shortcomings, forgetting that it comes from God, and I totally ignore or miss even seeing their qualities. This is how idolatry is synonymous with arrogance. And this Moses is saying to everyone, no matter how holy you are, no matter how accomplished you are in the spiritual arena, the fact is that every single person, even a righteous person, is susceptible to arrogance, and therefore needs to be constantly on guard, constantly working on themselves to, at the same time as they are a sense of pride and fulfillment and accomplishment and a good, healthy self-esteem, make sure that it never crosses over that thin line into the area of arrogance.